Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
We are learning more about how many people have had COVID-19 and the medical conditions that make it more dangerous.
A troubling mistake has increased the controversy surrounding facial recognition technology, and now we're hearing from Detroit's chief of police. Thanks for being with us for the news at 6. On the heels of an apology from the prosecutor, Chief Craig is weighing in on the botched case of Robert Williams and the use of facial recognition technology moving forward.
Yesterday, Local 4 Defender Sean Lay brought us the story of Williams, who was arrested in his driveway in front of his own family for a crime he didn't commit. That was a case in which officers used facial recognition technology to come up with their suspect.
Sean's back now with what the chief had to say about it today. Sean.
First and foremost, the chief now apologizing to Robert Williams for his arrest. The defender is asking the chief a second question in this: is he still sticking by facial recognition technology?
Shoddy investigative work. We had a total of 3 investigators that were involved in this, and so because of that shoddy work, it resulted in him getting arrested. And so I will personally apologize for that.
Detroit Police Chief James Craig telling the defenders tonight discipline could come to his investigators who used facial recognition technology to arrest Robert Williams at his home in Farmington Hills last January for a crime he did not commit. He was accused of felony larceny after someone else, an African-American man, stole watches from the Shinola store in Detroit. MSP's facial recognition software produced a photo of Williams. Detroit detectives got a warrant for Williams' arrest approved by Wayne County prosecutors.
So I'm not at all happy about the investigative work that was done, and certainly the lacking management oversight.
But tonight the chief is sticking by facial recognition technology, saying new policies are in place, that results are to be vetted every time, and results are only to be used as a lead. The chief says last year's triple shooting at an LGBTQ party, facial recognition technology helped identify the suspect, which led to an arrest and led to charges. Still, Chief Craig unhappy with the case of Robert Williams.
Some things went wrong, but it had nothing to do with the software as much as it had to do with the absence of a process and a poor investigation.
Bottom line, this now up to Detroit City Council whether or not the city wants to continue funding facial recognition technology. We're live downtown tonight. Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
Incredible. Okay, Sean, thanks.
Michigan is reporting its highest one-day total of new COVID-19 cases in the month of June. 353 reported over the last 24 hours. We've also lost another 18 Michiganders to the virus. Despite the rising numbers, Governor Whitmer today signed an executive order authorizing pro sports to resume, albeit without fans. Now tonight, the CDC is releasing new information about the underlying conditions that can put people at a much higher risk from COVID-19, and also new estimates of just how many Americans have already been infected. Dr. Frank McGeorge here with that update. Frank?
Yeah, Devin, the CDC briefed the media today in a phone call. They said based on antibody testing, as many as 20 million Americans may have already contracted the coronavirus. That's nearly 10 times the confirmed number of cases. Nevertheless, that would mean only about 6% of Americans have been infected, leaving the majority of people still at risk, some facing much higher risks than others. Age remains a major risk factor.
We know that the risk is a continuum. It's not just the risk of those ages 65 and older. And based on what we've learned, we now understand that as you get older, your risk for severe disease, hospitalization, and death increases.
The CDC says there is strong evidence that certain underlying health problems raise the risk at any age. Those problems include cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, COPD, sickle cell disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, meaning a body mass index of 30 or higher, and any condition that suppresses your immune system, including receiving an organ transplant. The addition of obesity is significant. That puts about 40% of U.S. adults at risk. They also noted complications for pregnant women.
Pregnant women with COVID-19 were more likely to be admitted to the ICU and also to receive mechanical ventilation than were non-pregnant women. Based on the data available now, it does not appear that pregnant women are at higher risk of death from COVID-19.
While younger healthy people may not be at high risk, the CDC said they are helping to spread the virus to those who are. Now, the CDC emphasized every activity that involves contact with others has some degree of risk right now, and they said everyone really needs to continue to do their part by practicing physical distancing, wearing a face covering when you're around others, especially when you cannot stay 6 feet apart or when you are indoors.
Doc, I noticed high blood pressure is not on that list.
Yeah, you know, the CDC feels that it's one of several health conditions where the evidence is less strong, but things like high blood pressure, asthma, dementia, and stroke might still increase a person's risk. Back to you.
Yeah. All right, Frank.
Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan today sending a message to some bars and restaurants in the city that are not following guidelines related to capacity and social distancing. The mayor says he won't hesitate to crack down if necessary.
You could have 2 or 3 establishments spark a new burst of COVID in this community, and we can't have that happen. What's going to happen is just what's happened in Jacksonville and a number of other places. The governor is going to step back in and shut everybody else back down again. And so I'm not going to allow a handful of people who don't follow the rules potentially to shut down every other business in this town.
Mayor Duggan declined to name any of the businesses in question, but says they can expect a visit from the city this weekend for a polite discussion about what's expected of them. The mayor says if that doesn't work, legal action will follow. But bars and restaurants aren't the only businesses having compliance issues with COVID-19 restrictions.
As we've been reporting, gym owners thought they had the green light to open today. They were hit with a legal setback late last night. Larry Spruill's been following that situation. And Larry, some of these gym owners are having to find ways to try to stay open, but also within the law.
That is exactly what they're doing, Kimberly and Devin. They want to be open in full capacity, but they know they can't do that right now. So they're being creative. They're working with their clients, but they're doing it in a safe manner as well.
Grind Time Fitness is a movement. It's not just a gym.
It's a movement. John Houston Smith with Grind Time Gym on Wyoming on Detroit's west side says he takes seriously.
We created a concept called Find Your Why. So we spray painted the letter Y in the parking lot 6 feet by 6 feet apart. So when people show up, they literally have to find their why and work out on their why.
Smith says he planned on incorporating this concept with his grand reopening celebration, welcoming members back to the gym on Thursday, but those plans got canceled.
Today we were supposed to open, but we got a little delay.
On June 13th, a federal judge ruled that indoor gyms could reopen Thursday, but that all changed late Wednesday night. The 6th Circuit Court of Appeals granted Governor Whitmer's motion to keep Michigan gyms closed.
We were a little disappointed that we couldn't open up initially, but we got over it because what we found is this Find Your Why concept actually allows more space for our members.
But not all gyms have the luxury to continue business outside. Ryan Hitzman and Brandon Pringle with Anytime Gym in Troy say they're not so lucky. They have to stay closed.
The extended closure, was a bummer, but, all in all, my brother and I, we wanted to make sure we follow the protocols and, the rules, obviously.
When asked if they agree with the governor's decision,
I guess I say I agree to disagree.
I totally agree with Governor Whitmer's decision to keep everything closed because she has a different perspective than we have.
Now, all day today, several employees with Crunch Gym texted me and called me saying that their locations are still open. I reached out to the Attorney General's office. They sent me this statement. It says in part, I want to read it. I just got it. It says the rising infection rate seen right now in other states is an alarming reminder of what could happen here if we act on impulse instead of science and the advice provided by medical experts. Under the court's decision, gyms should remain closed. Facilities that remain open may be subject to misdemeanor penalties. Now, I also spoke with an attorney who is representing several gyms here in this area. He tells me that they are thinking about taking this decision to the Supreme Court. We'll see how this goes. We're live in Eastern Market tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
We've expected more legal fighting ahead. All right, Larry.
A new report out from Michigan Senator Gary Peters says the state may have been shortened millions of federal dollars for COVID patients in the height of the pandemic. The national average was about $160,000 per case, but Michigan received far less. Our Grant Herms has a look at why our state may have been at a disadvantage.
As doctors and hospitals watch another uptick in cases anxiously, a new report saying Michigan's response plan may have been hobbled by a lack of federal funding. In some cases, Michigan getting 10 times less than other states, despite having the third highest case count in the country.
In the early days of the coronavirus, Michigan was already behind, according to a new report from Democrats on the Senate Government Oversight Committee. By April 10th, Michigan had more than 30,000 cases, but it only received $31,000 per patient. Compare that to North Dakota, which only had 278 cases, but received nearly $330,000 per COVID case. Michigan Senator Gary Peters' office releasing the report saying the Trump White House must take immediate action to rectify these grave mistakes. But the lack of funding also means Michigan needed more supplies but didn't have the money to compete against other states, which Governor Whitmer described in a New York Times Magazine profile this week as being like part of the Hunger Games. Speaking to Congress early this month, she detailed a lack of federal help.
When we expect 180,000 swabs of diverse swabs, and we get 180,000 foam swabs, we're grateful for the foam swabs, but it means we can't do those tests that require the other types of swabs.
Democrats now urging the president to put more money for hospitals hardest hit into the next round of stimulus funding, which the White House has promised to deliver.
Also in the New York Times profile today, the governor is saying she knew about the coronavirus in late February, but still continued to campaign and allowed a 2,000-person rally for former Vice President Joe Biden to continue. Attendees there only getting a squirt of hand sanitizer. In Detroit, Grant Herms, Local 4.
All right, Grant, a former student is suing the University of Michigan after he says a deal was cut to let Dr. Robert Anderson stay despite allegations of sex abuse. According to the lawsuit, the man told then Associate Vice President for Student Services Thomas Easthorpe that Anderson assaulted him. Former student alleges Easthorpe offered him a deal, asking if it was okay to transfer Anderson to an office job where he would not be around students. But Anderson remained at the university, treating students until 2003. Easthorpe has been ordered to give testimony in a deposition, and that will happen, we expect, next month.
All right, a few clouds out today, but we'll take these nice summer temperatures. Here's Andrew.
That's right, Kimberly and Devin, still warm and wonderful with temperatures around 80 degrees, give or take a degree or two. Still the risk of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow and the enhanced risk of severe weather. That's an upgrade. More on this and your weekend forecast in minutes.
All right, Andrew, also demanding real change within Michigan's criminal justice system. What a group of community leaders wants to see happen to help remedy, they believe, racial injustice.